Welcome to First Builders, the podcast for those who shape companies from the ground up. Today's is a special episode as we're having Eliana Berger back on the podcast. Those of you that listened to the last episode with her will remember that she had true First Builder background, from being an early product manager at various tech companies to a founding PM at Charlie Health and running a startup accelerator. Now she's founded Joyful Health to support healthcare practices in their revenue recovery alongside co-founder Warren Green. We at the Council invested in Joyful Health's first round of capital, and a ton has happened since.
Yeah, they've been growing rapidly, and they're working with fast-growing healthcare practices that are usually bombarded with new tech solutions. And this week, they've announced raising $22 million in funding to date and raising their Series A year ahead of schedule, led by CRV with participation from Designer Fund, Influx Capital, and XYZ Capital. It's a huge testament to what First Builders are capable of, and we're having her back on the podcast to give us the inside scoop on this moment. Eliana, welcome back on the show and congrats.
Thank you so much for having me. So excited to be back.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, first off, for our audience, anybody that didn't listen to the last episode, it'd be great to just level set. What does Joyful Health do?
Yeah, Joyful Health helps fast-growing healthcare providers recover revenue that they're leaving on the table. I started the company about 3 years ago after spending about a year very deeply embedded in over a dozen different practices, essentially as a fractional consultant. Quickly during that time period, I realized that the biggest hair on fire problem was really in finances, because nobody ever knew when they were going to get paid or by who or on what timeline. And as a result, we're leaving a pretty significant portion of their revenue just entirely on the table, usually somewhere between 10 to 30%. And what I realized in that time period was that it's because there's really no financial source of truth in healthcare. And all of that financial data is fragmented across so many different systems that don't talk to each other. So that's really what we built at Joyful Health, which is an AI-powered financial operating system where we use AI to pull in all this highly fragmented data across the EHR, billing system, clearinghouse, payer portals, et cetera, help providers visualize and track their revenue. And then we also now go after any outstanding insurance payments, such as denied claims, stalled claims, and help providers get that back. So that's what we're focused on now.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And congrats on raising that Series A year ahead of schedule. What were the indicators that, made you feel like you were ready for that Series A?
Yeah, for us, it was really opportunistic. We were really just heads down building, and we were growing quickly, taking on a whole bunch of new customers. And the space is moving very fast. There are a lot of different players that are in and around healthcare, revenue cycle, and finance. And this round of funding actually really helps us to capitalize on the momentum that we had. Like, we easily could have kept going with the resources that we had. We really didn't touch a whole lot of our previous seed capital, but we were starting to take on larger and larger customers, and we're really growing our team. So this helped us just accelerate. And I'm very, very glad that we did that, because it enabled us to build out even more infrastructure faster. That has really helped us start off the year on a really high note. So it was opportunistic, and it was also really important for us to have the right partners along with us for the ride. So that was a really big part of the decision criteria as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's such an interesting time right now, because the founders and companies that have gone in and done the deep work, like your first 6 months, building and just figuring out what are the main problems, and then building something for that, and then getting it all right. And then you layer on AI and everything happening right now. And there's a huge advantage to just sort of being first to that space and building it out in the way that, the customers actually need. So kudos to you. That now is a really exciting time to just pour fuel on the fire. So it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an exciting time for sure. I think companies are moving a lot faster than they used to. And a lot of these
Yeah.
AI solutions are just, I think buyers are a lot more ready to adopt AI. And I think a lot of these solutions are effectively being pulled off the shelves in a way that we just haven't seen before, because a lot of these structural barriers to adoption in healthcare are starting to kind of actually be solved. Like, for example, we can integrate with any system that our customers are on. And previously, that sort of onboarding and implementation would take 6 to 12 months, if not longer. And for us, it takes a couple of weeks. So there's a lot of, I think, these structural barriers that recent tech advances have helped us cross. And as a result, I think have helped us move a lot faster. So definitely a very interesting time to be building a company.
Totally. Yeah. And then kind of looking forward, what does this moment mean for Joyful Health and what you're able to accomplish with this?
A lot of growth, a lot of hiring. We've grown our team we've actually pretty much doubled our team over the last quarter or two. So
Cool.
have been hiring pretty much in every single department. And a lot of it has just been to capitalize on the demand that is in front of us. I think we're starting to take on larger and larger customers. We're taking on more and more specialties. We are automating more and more. So it really just helps us capture a lot of this demand and make sure that we can kind of keep up with what's in front of us. So it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. I guess like during the raise process, like what surprised you, if anything, at all, like while you were kind of like out to raise?
I think just the market is changing so fast and understanding, where companies need to be. I think what used to be good previously is no longer good. I think the benchmarks for what makes a best in class company are very, very different now in the era of AI and how fast companies are growing. So that was definitely something that we just had to think about, especially going out to raise an entire year ahead of schedule. I think we were very much so on that trajectory, but I think there was a lot of things that we were working on a much more compressed timeline. But for us, I think we were very grateful that we were able to find such incredible partners in CRV and that all of our existing investors, like everybody doubled down. And it was such a, smooth and wonderful process overall that I was very grateful that we took on the capital a little bit sooner than we originally anticipated. We were able to do it quickly and get back to work and not have to spend a whole lot of time on like a drawn out process. So yeah, I think it went smoother than I expected, which is always great.
Yeah,
definitely.
that's awesome. And then, like, apart from the raise, what has it been like for things to just happen this fast in general? Like for you, for the team, are the wheels flying off the bus, or like what's happening? How does that feel? Because everybody sees those headlines, like companies are getting built, faster than ever before with AI. And I think everybody's audience is probably curious, like, what does it feel like on the inside?
It's like truly lightning in a bottle. It's been really exciting. All of that credit I really give to the team. I think we've hired absolutely phenomenal people who have built out even more phenomenal teams around them. Everybody's extremely motivated, and I think it feels like we are all very much so on the same page and doing everything we can to take advantage of this very unique, in my opinion, I think once in a lifetime opportunity that we've been given. But I think one thing that we are definitely feeling is the kind of feeling of like leaning in over your skis, which I think is actually very healthy and exactly where you want to be. So it's something we've been really trying to normalize for the team that, in order to, you want demand to be really outpacing the infrastructure that you have built out internally, although that might feel uncomfortable because there's so many things that we need to do, people to hire, things to build. It's like such a lucky position to be in. So I think that's something we've been reminding ourselves that we are going to be both really excited, but also possibly a little bit intimidated by the goals that we have set and everything that we're taking on, as long as it's all within reason. But I would say it's been very, very exciting. And I think also adding so many new people to the team in such a short period of time, I think also really helps with a lot of this positive momentum because you have all these fresh faces that are excited and coming in. And one very important trait on our team is optimism and coming with, more
Love that.
solutions than problems. So when you have a team of, dozens of optimists on your team, it's like it's a very fun time because even though we're facing quite a lot of challenges, I think we feel very equipped to be tackling all of those challenges.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and optimism is so needed, especially in the healthcare space when there is like a lot of challenges. And so I love that optimism is an important trait at the company. And you kind of talked a little bit about this, but what has been, some of the easier things as you've been growing, and then what has been like some of the really challenging things as you've been growing?
Yeah, I think the easier thing has actually been distribution, which I think is great, which is always actually I think is opposite of what everybody
Wonderful
expects.
problem to have.
Yeah,
Wonderful
that is a
problem
great problem.
to have. And then, whereas I'm sure you remember, when we were raising our like very first like angel round of funding 3 years ago, that was pretty much all anybody was asking me about was, this healthcare is a notoriously difficult market to sell to. How are you going to do that? I kept repeating to everybody, like, we will figure it out. We're going to be very community driven. And it's very difficult to really see that vision. So I think interestingly, distribution has felt a lot more natural to us as a team. I would say the pieces that are harder is just making sure that we're keeping up with where we want to go because it's hard to look around corners all the time when you're really just like operating in the day to day. And I think at the pace that we're growing, you need to be thinking ahead. Like you need to be thinking of not only which people do I need right now, but which people do I need a quarter or 2 or 3 from now, because it can actually take 1 to 3 quarters to bring those people in the door, get them onboarded, get them ramped up and ready to go. So I think for us, it's just been making sure that we are really keeping track of all the things and looking around the corners and being thoughtful about what we need rather than reactive to something once we see something pop up. I think that's probably been the most top of mind for us recently.
That's awesome. And then what would you say is sort of the difference between raising a Series A this time around versus previous rounds that you'd raised?
There was a lot more proof in the pudding, which was actually really helpful. I think I was actually a lot more nervous about the prospect of a Series A. And even in this case, we didn't run a formal process. We really mostly spoke to a handful of folks that we knew and had a relationship with and that our investors were big proponents of. So that was also really helpful. We didn't have to go out and like prep all these materials. It was
Great.
very much so an opportunistic process for us, which was helpful. But that being said, I think with the Series A, a couple of things happened. One is just we had a lot more proof. We had customers, we had a lot of traction, we had a very strong product and a very strong team. Whereas with the seed round, it was still mostly a founder bet and a vision bet. And the other thing I think had changed was actually the market dynamics. I think when I went to raise the seed, there was still a lot of speculation around where would the revenue cycle market go and
Mm.
what actually is the true moat here. I think over the last year, a lot of the space has really evolved. And I think by the time I started to chat with folks about the A, I think everybody was on the same page that the way to really win this market was by approaching it from a platform standpoint and to be very deeply integrated into the existing systems that practices are already on. So I actually felt like with this most recent round of funding, there was a lot less storytelling to do. And I think I kind of, the folks that we were meeting with, it really came to the table with a strong POV on the market. And I think that's also why we were able to move so quickly and wrap things up the way that we did.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And love kind of like that evolution like in the market too. It just like really helps with the timing around that. So switching gears a little bit, obviously, you're a lot better known now, especially as Joyful has grown. I think you've grown like your presence a lot more like just in the communities as well. Like, with healthcare, I think you partner with like Out of Pocket, which obviously has like a huge healthcare community as well. How does that help, you, Joyful Health, the raise, and then does it have any kind of like other implications as well?
Yes, we were in stealth for a long time. I think we tend to be people that really keep our heads down for better or for worse sometimes. I think actually the marketing is really important. You need to be getting your brand out there. You need to be out there talking about your company. I think the visibility is really helpful because for us, I think a big part of our brand and our mission is to be very community oriented. That's always kind of what I've been saying from the very beginning of Joyful, that revenue cycle is a very lonely place. There's really no way to learn about revenue cycle at all unless it's, through some of these much older traditional courses like getting your actual billing certification. A lot of folks actually really just learn it through trial and error, and it's very expensive to do that. It's very difficult and it's really lonely. So I think a big part of our brand has been to be out and about and delivering value as best we can to folks that are in the space. And I think we do a lot of workshops and community and content and partnership. And I think that actually solves a very different pain point in the market than even what our product solves. I think it actually solves this question around how do I learn best practices and how do I set myself and my practice, my business up for success from an RCM standpoint. So we've really actually enjoyed that. We host like multiple events per month. I think we hosted 5 dinners, happy hours events last month, if not more. So we do a lot of that, but we get a lot of joy out of it. And it's how we meet a lot of our customers. And then most importantly, I think also just build a lot of longer term relationships in the space because we really aim to be a long-term partner.
That's huge. And I feel like so many founders across different industries that we see underestimate the power of community. And you've just done a great job since day one. I think you knew that that was going to be a big lever and put a lot of effort into it. So kudos on that coming together too, because it's not just as easy as hosting like 5 dinners a week or 5 dinners, a month. It's a lot of work behind the scenes to like, get the list of people that you would potentially invite to even like come to those dinners and figure out how that motion is going, and then all the planning and then all the follow through. So hats off to you guys for figuring that out early on and being able to scale it. And I would love to hear sort of what's next for Joyful Health. How do you think about the next year?
A lot of the same growth, more leaning in over our skis, but I think we're growing really, really quickly. And I think we're very focused. I think it's another big thing that we really focus on internally is you can do anything, but not everything is something that we spend a lot of time talking about internally. I think our biggest strength as a startup is to focus. I think it's very easy to be pulled in a million different directions and say yes to everything and every opportunity that comes your way. So I think we're really trying to stay very disciplined and keep one foot in front of the other. We are constantly thinking about what are the biggest risks that we need to be aware of, what do we need to de-risk, and how do we stay on top of that. So yeah, for us, it's staying focused, continuing to grow the team at this rate. We'll probably be double where we're at now by the end of the year, at least already. and making sure that we can continue to deliver for all of our customers and the demand that we're seeing. So lots more of the same, but faster, effectively.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Super excited to hear that. And then I hope you and Warren and the team are able to take a moment to really step back and celebrate this as well. I know you're probably all in it. So you're just like looking ahead and moving to the next thing. But I do think it's really important to these things don't happen every day. So it's definitely something to be proud of and so much that you've done and built already, and then so much more to come.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All kudos goes to the team. Honestly, they make it very easy. We wouldn't be able to be doing any of this without them and all of the work that they're putting in behind the scenes day in and day out. And I very much appreciate you both and the council for believing in us pretty much from day zero when we were still working on a different idea. And I was saying, I'm going to go and be a consultant and I'm going to figure it out and trust me. So very much appreciate that, all of the support and belief from day one. It's cool to see how much has changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly why we invest in first builders, like people who have taken things from 0 to 1 in the past that are now jumping into that founder seat, building in an industry that they understand uniquely, because we know it's like you're investing in the captain of the ship. Anything can happen and you have to trust in that person. And we're really glad that we placed that trust in you. And it's been awesome seeing how you've navigated twists and turns, and not even just, how you've navigated blockers, but then how you've also seen opportunity around the corner. And you've said, hey, we're going to go tackle that. Even before we started recording, you were talking about how you weren't expecting to work with such big practices, and now all of a sudden you're moving upstream. And I think a lot of teams would be afraid to do that too soon. I think that's exciting too, just having somebody with a big vision that is going after it, like a shark, honestly, which is awesome. Yeah, it's exciting.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Our team is very fearless, I will say. Every time we take something on, everyone's like, we've got it. I feel very confident. So they give me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
Nice.
And one thing we talked about last time you were on here too is I think we asked you what was the startup piece of advice you disagree with most, and you said build fast and break things. And so I think that's also been fun to watch, from the sidelines, as you've really focused on building a foundation that would scale. So you were, not going out and blabbing to the world, hey, we can solve all of your problems. And then they come in and it's like Band-Aids and bubble gum holding the whole thing together, even though it might feel like that sometime to every startup. But I think you spent those first 6 months working with those practices, and then even were really, really involved with customers as you were getting it off the ground beyond that. And so I think that is paying it forward in spades now. But we're really excited and would love to share with our audience, if somebody's interested in working with Joyful Health, how do they get in touch, and how can they keep up with your journey as well?
Yeah, we are hiring pretty much across the board in every department. So if you are interested in working with us to solve one of the biggest problems in healthcare and fintech, would love to meet you. All of our careers are posted on our website, joyfulhealth.com. Same goes for if you are a fast growing practice that needs some support with all of your insurance AR. We're here. Definitely, reach out to me anytime, or reach out to us on our website. We would love to meet you.
Yes, optimists only.
Yeah.
Exciting.
We have
Cool.
even if you're not an optimist, we have enough of it for everybody else.
That's what you do.
Okay.
Cool.
You'll convert some folks into optimists as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be when you're surrounded by all these people. So it's great.
No, it's true.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely. See you, Eliana.
Thank you so much.